Hi everybody, welcome to Bolt from the Blue Tarot. My name is Sam. I'm an intuitive reader and I read for your highest good. So today we're hopping right in with a card that came to me during a meditation that I was asked to read. So this is Sauron the Deceiver gifting Rings of Power. This isn't, I didn't build this like a tarot deck, but this is sort of like the devil card. In this case, the ego in particular. So I really like whatever your feelings about the Amazon show, Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. The second season is very interesting because it gets a lot into the character of Sauron, which is like the big bad guy in Lord of the Rings, and his motivation for doing what he does, creating these rings of power, and then the one most powerful ring of power that he uses to bend the other rings to his will. So he gifts them to the most powerful kings and queens of all of the races of Middle Earth. And then he makes one ring to rule them all. So to bring their peoples and their lands and their rulers into his darkness, right? And the thing about Sauron is he's not crazy about the orcs, but they're a means of they're like the beings he can persuade to do his will. Like he's not interested in, he has no love for them. He doesn't like conquer other lands to gift to them or for their benefit. They're a means to an end, and the end is control for him, right? So what he actually wants is order. He looks at the cosmos and he sees chaos, and he wants to impose order, right? Order, so this card comes out to remind us that order can only be found, like true order, the highest order, cosmic order, can only be found where there is no desire to impose it, in the sublimity of the numinous, right? So in dissolution of the ego into oneness, into unity, into spirit. So this card in a reading comes out to tell you that someone is deceiving you, but most often the most sinister part of this deception is that the call is coming from inside of the house, sort of a thing. It's most likely you that's doing the deceiving, and not the true you, but your ego, most likely. I was reminded today by an excellent lecture on YouTube about how the ego is just a construct. It's a no thing. Like it's a parasite is how it was described, and it truly is. Like it can't survive on its own, and it bends others to its will. That's it. Its only means of control, or of power, I should say, is by trying to exert control through fear. So be wary of the gifts brought by the ego, and keep in mind that what it wants, like it doesn't want your success. It wants some form of order, some form of twisted order, right? Not divine order, contrived, manipulative order. Here's a bit of Lord of the Rings lore. So Sauron is a corrupted Maya, which is like a class of being similar to an angel. There's a whole like system of deities in the lore of Lord of the Rings, all the way up to what is essentially like God. Gandalf the wizard, is also a Maiar. So Sauron is a corrupted version of that. And these are spirit beings, but they animate into the world in physical form. So what corrupted Sauron was a desire for order. The power he sought was only a means to this end. There is no greater order than the natural order of the self-organizing universe. That's truly the point of this card, is to remember that, right? Let go of your need to feel like you are in control and your need to impose some sort of contrived order. Because, I mean, we're trained into thinking this way. Almost everyone around you, 9 in 10 people at the very least, are operating from ego, and pretty heavily, usually. They're all trying to impose contrived order to make things look and feel better for themselves. But it's a kind of corrupted, like the orcs were originally elves, and they were corrupted, they were tortured, they were twisted into like this mutilated form. And that's what we're trying to do to universal order, to the beautiful nature of the universe, when we try to make reality conform to our ego's wants, because they're twisted and they come from a place of needing to control and manipulate against a power that is so much greater. That's why in stories like this, like epic stories with a bunch of lore, the most powerful beings of the light don't really sweat anything. Like, they send their emissaries in the form of old men, in the form of the wizards, and they don't give them like an extraordinary amount of power. They just say, like, you are here to encourage the people of Middle Earth to choose the light, right? That's essentially their job. They don't really sweat it, because there is no power greater than what is, than the self-evident, self-organizing, beautiful, complex, simple universe. Anyhow, I'm interested to see how this idea comes out further in this reading. But we'll set that aside for now. I have mentioned to you guys that as soon as I stopped trying to put any kind of, this is right back to this, but as soon as I stopped trying to impose any kind of order on these readings, they became much more cohesive in a way that I could not have organized myself. They started to take a lot longer, but the messages were, I am certain, of a higher quality for the people that they resonate for. And for myself, certainly, they've started like not just being for other people, that is for sure. There's big messages in each of these readings for me as well. Anyhow, that brings me to Mystical Tarot of the Saints. I recently ordered this because I was guided to. I have previously not had any known affinity for the saints. The artwork isn't one that I would pick out of a lineup as like my absolute favorite. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my usual cup of tea. And it's not something that I knew I should get it, because it wasn't something that I was just like, it wasn't just me that wanted this. Do you know what I mean? This was a guided thing. So I got this deck, and I got this like 2 days ago, and I've maybe done 2 or 3 readings for myself, but it's a classic tarot deck in terms of the number of cards and the order and stuff. But the messaging for each card is very, very different than the Smith-Waite-Rider-Waite tarot. And so it's got this little guidebook with it. And I was surprised when I was guided to use this deck for the reading. So we'll see what comes out with it. I would normally like to practice a lot more with the deck before I bring it out, but I'm not concerned about it because I know that, that was truly a guided choice. It's not what I would have chosen for myself, but I felt very strongly that it should be chosen. And so I don't worry about it anymore because I know that it's for my highest good and the highest good of anyone who's listening. Like, it will deliver the perfect message and I'll be guided to just figure it out live on camera, It's going to work in a way that I could not have planned myself better than I could have planned. Speaking of decks I'm learning, I'm also learning this one, the Alchemical Tarot, Blue Sky Edition by Robert M. Place. And this is the guy who really helped me connect with the tarot. He sees it as a spiritual tool, as do I. And I like his art. But anyway, this is another heavy twist on the traditional tarot. Like, this is the 10 of Wands, for instance, this Phoenix. What else we got here? Like 7 of Swords. The art on here is really different, really interesting, and it's all alchemical. So it's based on medieval texts of alchemy, which were based on alchemists' dreams and visions. And so, medieval drawings, like on the corners of maps, like how wild they are. And the art in this deck adapts that wild art. I love it. However, it is deeply, like, this man is a learned scholar of the tarot and of truly Western history. Like, I got this book that he wrote, and it is a textbook, you guys. I'm only that far in, but all of the bookmarks are of the tarot aspect of it, because he includes a guide to 2 or 3 of his decks alongside like a historical description of each of the cards and all of the symbolism that goes into it. So I'm reading this for the love of the game, but also because I really want to be able to use this deck. Like, I'm an intuitive reader. I mostly go off of what spirit gives me and the pictures, and I could use this deck like that. However, it is so, like, the alchemical symbolism is so rich in spiritual significance. Like, it's dripping with all kinds of messages, all kinds of richness that I could not pull from just the images themselves. So there's something there. Like, today I'm being drawn into explaining a little bit of how I have learned and gone into these things, and also learning about what's ego-driven and what is guided. Because I was guided to get this book as a guide to this is what I thought I was doing, right? And as a guide to a couple of his other decks, and just out of broad curiosity. But what I was really doing was learning, like, this is like an outer textbook. This is the exoteric to the esoteric alchemy that I'm intuitively performing on myself in coordination with spirit, right? This is also, like, I learned a lot about shamanism from the very beginning that I wouldn't have otherwise known. And it helped to explain a lot of my personal journey. But yeah, so he talks about the Western history of magic, alchemy, Hermeticism, and Neoplatonism. And this sort of like, this text helps to explain a lot of New Age stuff to me, like the origins of it, because New Age ideas, New Age thought, the ideas that we label as New Age are like an amalgamation of ideas from these different traditions, as is the Western history of just like magic and alchemy in general. So this has been very, very interesting. Just wanted to plug that, I guess. I did it because I was guided to. I can't wait to use this with you guys on the channel. But this is not one, unless I'm guided to do it. I'm not going to pull from that one during a reading, just based on the images, because there's so much going on there. Okay, what we are going to do, if you're still with me, we're going to pull you an animal card, and this is from the Animal Love Oracle Cards deck. You guys, squirrel, clever, spirited, and active life. Look at this squirrel. Like, look at him. Look at him looking at you. He's just a happy fella. Clever, spirited, and active life. We also have a monarch butterfly in there. Okay. Squirrel. What a funny thing it is to see a squirrel frantically burying its precious seeds and nuts. Because it spends so much time digging and concealing, its symbolic meaning is about being honest. Are you hiding something from yourself or others? Have you gathered too many things in the past that are now cluttering your life and becoming a burden? Are you being too serious and putting too much time into saving for the future and not focusing enough on the present? Are you having fun as you prepare for future needs? You can enjoy both, saving and having fun. The squirrel is fortunate that it has planted a surplus of nuts. It will find some, but most of them will stay buried in the ground. Yet thanks to the squirrel, things will grow where we never knew they could. You, like the squirrel, have more influence on friends, family, and the planet than you realize. Because of your actions, new ideas, beliefs, and passions sprout up. Because your actions, new ideas, beliefs, and passions sprout up in the most unexpected places. Remember, there is no such thing as a mistake. There is just a change in direction. You are always where you are supposed to be, doing what you are supposed to do until you are meant to be somewhere else. Oh, guys, I love this. I love this. Yeah, if you're a guided empath, like, I have never been directed to a hobby for no reason. Sometimes the reason is not clear until years later because I had to learn something, form a pathway in my mind, or I'm directed to perform a kindness. Like these are all seeds being planted. These are nuts that you've buried, and you might not have known why, and you might have forgotten about them, but they're going to make the world a brighter, greener, more verdant place. If you've ever watched a squirrel trying to get into a bird feeder, you understand how tenacious a creature it is. Like the squirrel, no matter what situation you are faced with, there is always one or more ways to deal with it. I would think the squirrel's motto would be, success is learning to deal with plan B or C or D. It never gives up. That needs to be your motto as well. The butterfly's dance tells you that important transformation will be happening soon. Run and play with a feisty squirrel and patient butterfly, and you will find yourself revitalized, energized, and renewed. You will do so much more than you thought possible while having a great time. I think this is also about following your highest excitement. Here's some affirmations. I know how to balance having fun and working hard. There is always a solution. I just need to give the problem more time. I clear out any unnecessary baggage, enabling me to lighten my load. You are always where you are supposed to be, doing what you are supposed to do until you are meant to be somewhere else. I love that. Okay, interesting. There's like 3 or 4 different messages there. Yeah, I'm being pulled back to the success is learning to deal with plan B or C or D. You might be being asked to pivot in some fashion. All right, let's see. I will stop casting about and pull some cards. Look at that squirrel. That's the happiest looking squirrel I've ever seen. I wish to see a squirrel in real life that looks that happy spirit. Please send me a happy squirrel. Okay, we're going to pull some cards from the Oracle of Destiny. And then we've got 2 tarot decks, so we're going to see. I normally try to keep it to 1, but letting the spirit take the wheel here. No? Okay. We could be here a while. Influences. Square. Damn it. Specifically. Oh, the square card. Okay. You know what it makes me think of? You guys who have seen me pull this before. Pulp Fiction. Square cards coming out again. You might be I'm just kidding. If I'm a square, you're a square. Or no, the other way around. I'm trying to do a notebook thing. If you're a square, I'm a square. I'm with you guys. All right. Let's see. Getting very exacting with the cards here. Okay. Influences, square, girdle of Venus, and journeys. Influences. Okay. So let me show you guys all 4 of these in a row. So I think over here with influences and square, what I'm getting here, it's not the definition from the book, I'm just going by the images. The square card often to me is like putting a halt on something, like a whoa there. And it feels like you have influenced, like you have seeded a lot of manifestations into this reality. You have put out a lot of good energy, my feeling is. You've planted a lot of energetic seeds of positivity and love and of abundance. But something is stopping them from coming to fruition, like from growing to their full potential. And that's for sort of like karmically returning back to you the dividends you should be receiving. This girdle of Venus and the journeys. I think my two hands holding all these hands. So I think what's being called for is a kind of a journey of faith. And it's a turning inward. Maybe you've done all of this, like I'm saying this unironically, like all this righteous stuff, like actually very righteous. Or you have these beautiful ideas of how to change the world for the better, or these beautiful manifestations you wish to bring into your life to make it completely abundant. Maybe you don't know exactly what they are even, because you're intuitively guided and you've just been, this is a co-creation with the divine. You just know that like they're being delayed. Something is delaying them, and I feel like it's this is really frustrating to hear, guys, but it might be a subconscious lack of, I don't even want to call it like a lack of faith, okay? Because I know how frustrating that will be to hear. But you may be at a point right now where you're like, you understand manifestation. You know that something should be coming in for you, but you don't see it. Like all you're being given are angel numbers and feathers, and being told like to follow your highest excitement or stay high vibrational and positive. And you're like, okay, like through gritted teeth, you're like, I'm doing it, but it would be really nice if I could see my manifestations. And whether it's conscious or subconscious, that need to see results, like to see, all these seeds you planted come to fruition, to be proven correct, to see physical evidence of your divine support, to see these blessings come in as like there's part of you that's like, gimme, gimme, gimme. Do you know what I mean? And it's maybe not in that grasping away, but it's kind of like, okay, subconsciously it might be some sort of disbelief, because nothing as good as what you have put out into the world has come back to you yet in this lifetime. The scales are imbalanced. You've given so much and you've received so little. And that can subconsciously, because the subconscious doesn't reason, it doesn't weigh things, it just receives data. Okay, so the subconscious is like, we've done all of this and we have received this. We can continue to believe good things, but based on past experience, we will not receive. It's like, so there's that to be worked through subconsciously. You might have to change some subconscious beliefs around faith, luck, miracles. Like, now is the time to double down, brainwashing yourself for the success, because what you're up against is an entire lifetime of evidence that runs contrary to all of this good that wants to come in for you. We can be very frustrated by this. I get it firsthand, because manifestation on this scale of this much, like, of life-changing good, is a dance with the divine, and a lot of dancing is timing. And the frustrating thing, it can be like, well, I've tried to bring this through 7 different times in my life, and each time I did it differently, and each time I fell flat on my face. And conventional wisdom would say, like, try it an 8th way. And while that might help, it might, there's also the aspect to be considered, and this is just to give yourself, like, cut yourself some slack, that it may not have been in divine timing. Like, it might have been right thing, wrong time, or right skill, wrong execution, wrong development. I'm also like, I cannot ignore, I often think about cards and the way that they come out, like, this, each deck is like a lexicon, and there's a particular grammar, right? Like, not every culture reads left to right, but I tend to read that way, and Spirit knows that, right? So they send me messages generally in that fashion. Sometimes the syntax is different. Sometimes it, like, comes out in a different order, and I have to read by the way that the person is facing, or the symmetry of the message, or big to small, small to large, whatever. But I mean, this could pretty clearly be shamanic journeying. So it could be that you're trying to develop these spiritual gifts, or receive instruction about, like, why this is being blocked, figure out how to work with the divine more closely to, like, help them help you, right? And it may be that you're meditating or pulling tarot cards, when you are a shaman, like your spiritual gifts may be shamanic in nature. So your most direct path to the divine might be through shamanic journeying. And this involves entering a trance state. Like you should do your research before attempting this. But there are lots of ways to trance. And shamanism is like the universal and primordial human spirituality, religion, if you want to call it that. But it's like, it's truly a methodology. The easiest way, without, like, it depends how well you already trance. You might be into self-hypnosis, in which case you've had some experience with trancing yourself, so you know what I'm talking about. But entering this subconscious, and then eventually what you might call the collective unconscious, or the astral or the spirit realm, right? Depending on your view of these things. But the easiest ways, and one that is used by a lot of cultures, is listening along with a drum beat. And if a drum is struck at a certain rhythm, I think it's like between 3 or 4 drum beats per second, it facilitates a change in our brain waves, which, you sort of become the drum beat, and it helps you to trance very easily and sort of universally. It's like something hardwired in our brains. So look into shamanic journeying. Wow, these 4 cards tell a rich tale. Yeah, you might be trying to return to Sauron, the deceiver here. You might be trying to have a contrived conversation with spirit. Like, it's sort of like 2 different cultures meeting. Let me cook on this for a second. So imagine the spirit realm is like a vastly different culture than you've ever encountered. And you don't know their rules of etiquette. So you set up, like, you're going to have a meeting with them or dinner or something, and you set up a dinner as your culture would have you set up a dinner. And then, like, spirit shows up and they look through the window and they're like, oh, well, we can't, this won't do. And they never come to dinner. Or they come in and they like, everything that you've set up is inedible, or they like are extremely uncomfortable at your table. They don't eat like this. It's like everything that you might have done to be polite and show them, welcome, please share your messages, let's have a conversation, might be not useful. It might be hostile to a back and forth in which spirit can usefully contribute, can usefully convey messages. The unfortunate so one of the unfortunate things is that, it's not unfortunate, you have to go to spirit, right? They are the more powerful party. They are like they set the terms kind of a thing. It's like you're going to the underlying power of the entire universe and telling them what the conversation, like bounding the conversation. And they're like, no. Like, you come to us and we're going to talk to you in vague symbols and and dreams. So you might have to go that route. Sorry if you're trying to have something more straightforward laid out for you. I get it, because these are my spiritual gifts as well. And I much prefer pulling cards. Just because we don't have a rule book for this. We're not in a society, most of us watching this video won't be from a society with shamans. We won't have been raised and trained as shamans. We don't know what the rules are. And it's a lot vaguer. Like, I had to get a book on animal symbolism because I'd be like, hey, spirit, I know that, like, you think of me as a shaman or whatever, and so you send me a lot of nature stuff. You send me a lot of animals, and I've noticed all the owls, and I'm just kind of wondering what they mean. And spirit's like, okay, let us explain. And they just send me more owls. They're like, that should clear it up for him. 3 or 4 more owls should do it. And so I just like eventually got tired of it and got a book. So to you, it might be like, okay, I have to lay there for an hour and listen to drum beats in a hypnagogic state. And then I have to turn to the divinatory tools to figure out what just happened to me. And to you, it might be like, it sounds like divination, but with extra steps. But that's not how the divine sees it, okay? They don't see it that way. Also, things can be communicated to you through shamanic journeying that cannot be communicated to you through the cards. Energetically. You might not understand the message, but it's kind of like, I don't know, the first thing that came to mind isn't like a super appropriate. What is it like? So it's kind of like the difference between prayer or meditation and having Reiki or some other form of energy work done on you, where like one of them opens the door to spirit for sure, but it's cracked open, depending on how deep and long you're meditating, of course. But with energy work, it's kind of like, it's very physical. Like, shamanic journeying is it's a very earthy practice. It's bodily done. It's done through you. Like, it's about moving energy through you, and they can really get in there. Like, they can move things around. Let's put it that way. Like, they can energetically restructure you. And that's what they're wanting to do. And that might actually help with your divination, because they can unlock all kinds of stuff when you're in this state. Okay, those 4 cards went on quite a while. This is going to be the longest video by far. We still want to do these? Okay. All right. We got Modern Witch Tarot. 9 of Pentacles. One of my favorite 9 of Pentacles. Look at this parakeet on her head. Nine of Pentacles. What else we got, Spirit? What else for my shamans? avoiding, egoic, contrived, control. Five of Pentacles. Justice. Just these three, huh? Yeah, I just feel like the scales are going to be balanced here. Okay. Yeah, I'm having a hard time with these three in this order. And they came out in this order on purpose. So I think we're being directed to pull from the mystical tarot of the saints for some explanation. We have the Seven of Coins. Not sure how well the art is coming through in this lighting. They're like darker oil paintings, and they haven't been brightened up for the cards too much. They're very like medieval. No. Four of Swords. This is one of my favorite Four of Swords. I've only been with it for a couple of days, but I love it. You see her knitting or like sewing with all of these swords around her, and she's a nun. I love it. Knight of Swords, St. Paul. So I'm getting the Justice is a person. Maybe like a past life. Okay, it's different for all of you. No? It's some sort of spiritual protector, this Justice. Okay, so I'm realizing that they're not like, I'm trying to read the grammar wrong, the syntax. So the 7 of coins, I don't know if you guys can see, he looks bummed that all of his crops died, man. Like all his plants are dead. But he's sitting on, like he's got all these coins around him, and he's also sitting on the biggest crystal I've ever seen. He's like, this earth is no good. I don't have anything worth anything here. And he's literally using this massive gemstone as a, I want to say like a moping station. I don't know. Anyhow, I feel like you've been like, maybe this is about shamanic journeying, where you're sitting on this like spiritual gold mine maybe, or this like tremendous resource, and you're kind of like, why isn't my, why isn't my divination growing, or some other spiritual ability or skill that you're trying to develop? And I feel like maybe like you might be this spiritual badass, with the 4 swords around here. And she's some sort of like warrior nun. She's some sort of like Olympic swords person. But she's like, oh no, I'm just, I don't do that anymore. I just sew. I am meek. You might be being asked to take up one of these swords. Get on your gigantic horse. And either I'm having a tough time with this one. Either like I feel like just allow something to come through. Yeah, that's what it is. Like you might be bummed and kind of bored. Like you might be at a point of just like, I'm just getting like, you know what? She's like standing in this garden with 9 pentacles and all of these ripe fruits and veggies and nature. But she's not looking at any of it. She's like mentally looking over at the poverty, the spiritual poverty, the lack of faith. And justice needs to be brought to this situation. It's something a little bit different for all of you. I'm trying to thread it all together, but it's a little... Yeah, I mean, I'm not being directed to look in the book or anything. I think that's... it just doesn't feel complete to me. Okay, I'm just going to trust that I did what I could in the time I had with this message, and that what came through was meant to come through. And I'm going to try to pull you guys an advice card or two for each of your slightly different situations. Spider-Man and the Green Goblin at the Queensboro Bridge. So this is from the Tobey Maguire, the first Spider-Man movie. What was that, like 2001, 2003, something like that? So in this scene, the Green Goblin, the bad guy, is, if memory serves, dangling like, I think it's like a bus full of school kids on a field trip off the side of the bridge. And then he's also, it's like on the one hand, the bus full of kids, and on the other hand, Mary Jane, the woman that Spider-Man has loved since he was a boy. And he's told by the Green Goblin, like, choose, Spider-Man, like the woman you love or the bus full of kids. And he drops them. And this card comes out to let you know that a false choice is being presented to you by some sort of devil, right? Like devil energy. So something is being presented as yes, no, black or white, either or, when it can be yes and both or neither, right? Like it can be a lot of different combinations. Spider-Man finds a way to both save the woman he loves and the bus full of kids, because he realizes it's a false choice that's being presented to him, and he refuses to allow anyone to die, right? Here's a little tidbit, a little reminder. So there's a psychological trick, which is actually just manipulation, to get a child to do something. What you do is you limit their options, then you give them freedom to choose. So instead of saying, like, do you want to clean your room, or would you like to please clean your room, what you do to manipulate them into doing it is you say, do you want to clean your room now or an hour from now? Now or at 7 o'clock? Now or tomorrow? And this gives them a perceived freedom of choice, right? And so they will readily choose the later option or whichever one. Like, it'll force them into a deciding mode, right? Thinking between these two options rather than consenting yes or no to doing the thing. So there's a reminder here that you are an adult, and to take back your power from this, whatever manipulative energy is presenting this false choice. So be the hero who chooses to see a win-win scenario where others only see a win-lose or even a lose-lose, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to relate it back to this. Maybe if we get another advice card. That might be it, you guys. Avatar Cara writing in her journal. This is from Avatar, the Legend of Korra. So this encourages journaling or writing in the context of reflection or introspection. So journal about yourself and your story, and this will help you appreciate your growth, your accomplishments, and discern or summarize any lessons learned. You know, it's interesting. We have free will and we can flub stuff, but I know that I was guided to pull these particular decks in that particular order, and I know that the correct cards came out. But I'm not currently able to make sense of them. And there's something here, like when the reading itself isn't making a kind of internal logical sense, I often realize that I'm being asked to look at it from a higher perspective, to get a little bit meta with it and see like, okay, so I'm not able to piece together the message now. And here is the message for you. I just have to trust that the cards are coming out in the correct order, and that I may not be able to discern their meaning now, but in hindsight, I will, or when the time is correct, I will. Or I might not be supposed to understand these today, and it's, you know, a lesson about like surrendering that need. Surrendering the need to contrive order where there is only divine order, like a higher order, where I cannot understand it for lack of the proper perspective or vantage point. Yeah. I'm going to have to journal about this myself, you guys. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what comes out. I feel like there's something here for me as well. Okay. Well, thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope that some aspect of this was helpful to you. If nothing else, keep in mind the tricks of the ego. And remember to reside in spirit. Check out shamanic journeying if you haven't. You don't have to be like some sort of high priest shaman in a past life. Like this could be the first life where you do it. Do you know what I mean? And it's not like we can all do it. We can all do it. Yeah. Okay. This is what it's like to be human, where you're like, no, I want the satisfaction of making it make sense. I want everything to line up and look pretty, and I just want it to make sense. And sometimes we just have to let go of that. And you know what it wounds? It wounds the ego. It doesn't wound our spirit, because our spirit knows, this is small potatoes to begin with, and also, like, I'll understand it in time, when the time is right, and it's just not now. So this was a lesson for me, and I wouldn't learn it if I, like, posting this video anyway is part of learning the lesson, right? to not post the video would be a very egoic thing. It would be not wanting to add an extra layer of like, oh, well, now I'm embarrassed that I didn't do a good job. I believe I delivered the correct message. And if there is more to glean here, I will glean it. If it's relevant to you guys, I'll let you know in future videos. Thanks for joining me. Take care and go easy on yourself. Be compassionate with yourself, you guys. All right, love ya. See you in the next one.